So I was listening to Tupac's song,
Hail Mary.
Hail Mary, Hail Mary, which is another, yeah. And it's fascinating. The lyrics are fascinating. And so I started to play around with the lyrics and I started to literally put, and what I did at was interesting. I got Tupac's lyrics and I put them on paper, and I got some of Aristotle's text and I put them on paper. And I asked someone, I said, what would you do if I, first I said, who do you think wrote these words? And they said, well, I don't know. And I changed some of I changed some of the verbiage in Tupac's,
Of course.
so it wouldn't seem contemporary, right? So I did a little translation. And everyone that I showed that sort of script to said, oh, this must come out of the, 1700s or 1800s, literally. And I said, what if I told you that Tupac said this? And they were blown away. Then I said to them, what if I told you that Biggie had a song called You're Nobody Until Somebody Kills You? And they said, well, it sounds very profound. And these are my friends who are PhD philosophers and quote unquote great thinkers, as they would want to identify themselves, right? And I said, what does that mean? You're nobody until somebody kills you. And so they started to pontificate and we went on for a couple of minutes. And I said, you know what you just said is exactly what he said. Right? You consider yourself a great thinker. So again, I wanted to introduce the world to a different voice about death. Right? And I wanted to blend that as well so you can appreciate, not to juxtapose Tupac, Biggie with Aristotle and Plato, but I wanted you to be able to appreciate the genius of all of these great thinkers.
Absolutely.
And that was the driving force behind that chapter, in addition to other things as well. Again, we talk about Black Lives Matter in the path of death, right? And I think that it's very appropriate because as we talk about death, we talk about Black lives, right? Which we not just relegated to Black lives, we talk about death in general, but in particular, I talked about Black lives since it's such an important conversation topic right now. What does that mean, Black Lives Matter? What does Black Lives Matter mean in the context of modern day senseless deaths? And so I wanted to give the reader something to think about, something to challenge themselves. Is there a movement, right? This Black Lives movement. I wanted to challenge them. I wanted them to look at Black lives, the Black Lives movement through the lens of oppression and violence in Chicago, violence in Detroit, violence in Baltimore. Is it Black Lives Matter? Does all lives matter? And I play around with that, and I've been told by some of my earlier viewers that it's very risky and that they can appreciate me sort of creating this challenge for the reader, but that's what I want. I want to challenge the reader to think about this whole notion, not only to challenge Black people to think about Black Lives Matter, but to challenge white people who live in their comfortable suburban neighborhoods, to challenge them, how does Black Lives matter to them? How does death matter to them? So it's not about white, it's not about Black, it's not about brown, it's about all lives. And so I challenge all races, ethnicities in that regard to, and you have to sort of deal or sort of reconcile this whole notion of whose life matter. Because I think once we sort of pull away from this notion of white lives, Asian lives, brown lives, that these individual lives matter, then no lives matter, right? Now we've created these pseudo, sort of, I don't want to use the word labels here, but we created these pseudo frameworks here to place on labels on life. It's absurd.
And I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of the book. The way you're able to challenge these deep set assumptions that we all have subconsciously about our politics, about our identities, in such a way that regardless of whether a person's more familiar with Kant or Kanye, they're able to relate and truly learn something valuable, no matter where they're from, who they are, or what situation they're in. Even if they're in a bad spot in this moment, you absolutely give people a framework for removing themselves from hatred, from oppression, from violence, and actually being able to achieve that first path you talk about, success.
I'm glad you mentioned the path of success, because I want to make sure that we don't overlook the path of success and focus only on despair and death, because it's important to celebrate the success. One of the things about the Glades that I love is, again, the people of the Glades are among the most resilient people I've ever met, and I'm so proud to be among them. Again, just think about this. How could people with over 40% unemployment, one of the highest crime rates per capita in the country, little to no resources, there's not a Walmart 50 miles of this place, maybe 40 miles. Some would argue, right? But
Yeah.
maybe 40 miles of this place. How do you have a place, a people, no resources, high unemployment rate, high death rate, but yet we have produced more NFL players than anyone in the country. We produce some of the brightest doctors, some of the brightest lawyers, accountants, entertainers. Our gift to the world is limitless. So how do you take these people that have been oppressed, marginalized for so long, but yet have been able to systematically, consistently overcome time and time and time after again all these great obstacles before them? And I'm one of those people, and I'm proud to say I'm one of those people that we've been able to overcome and go and excel. So when you mentioned earlier about the PhD, the JD, the MBA, and the other MA, and the other MA, and all that stuff, to me, I'm excited about that stuff, but I stand on the shoulders of giants. There have been so many whom come before me. I was a college athlete as well. I played college football. There are others before me who have done that as well. Mm-hmm. Many of these guys, and they're friends, they're dear friends, they're great people. I was just told one of my neighbors, almost a nephew to me, just signed a $62 million contract with the New York Giants, Janoris Jenkins. I'm so proud of it, so proud of it. But these are the fruits of the labor from where I'm from. Mm-hmm. We have the Anquan Boldens, the Fred Taylors, the Ricky Jacksons, Pro Bowlers, Super Bowl guys, Pernell McPhee. I could literally go on for days talking about the greatness of where I'm from. And what's unique about Crossroads, it's anywhere America. Crossroads, the Glades, you could find any place in America. And I think that it's a testament. I think that it could be used as an example for many to follow in their life pursuit of success. And hopefully they will learn from the failures of others whom may have preceded them or whom have traveled the wrong path.
Certainly. I mean, after reading the book, I know that's the case, that, from reading this book, they will learn so much. And looking at the lives of these giants, as you refer to them, from the Glades, whose shoulders you stand upon so humbly.
Sure.
What is, the secret, the one piece of advice you would give the person who's skeptical, of picking up your book? What is it that equips the people of the Glades to be so darn resilient and to be so successful despite a lack of resources, a lack of opportunity? What is it that allows them to achieve all the things that they have?
That's a really good question. And I've been asked that question a lot in my lifetime. And it's heart. People from the Glades have heart. If you can survive the Glades, if you can make it from the Glades, you can make it anywhere. And when I say anywhere, I'm talking about the Super Bowl. I'm talking about on the big screen, stock market, entrepreneurs, legislators, soon to be senators. If you could make it from where I'm from, there's an old adage that says, life is like photography, we develop from the negatives. And that's what I like to think about the people from the Glades. We develop from the negative. There's also another adage that I like that says, pressure either breaks pipes or makes diamonds.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of jewels, brother, where I'm from. There's a lot of diamonds And if you turn on television on Sundays, you'll see many, but there's others that you won't see. I had the pleasure just weeks ago of speaking at the National Honor Society. Standing with me to my left and my right are two beautiful sisters who are going to Duke University and Florida State University, full rides.
That's amazing.
So the diamonds that I talk about, the jewels that I talk about, the Mel Tillises of the world, the Calvin Peets of the world, the entrepreneurs, the inventors of the world. It's deep within us in the Glades, but it's because we've been hardened, but we haven't been broken. And we've been hardened to become diamonds. And that's why we've been able to succeed and be very successful, despite our venues where we are. You could tell when we arrive at places because we do things very well.
And that's for certain. You encourage people, I suppose, to embrace the adversity, not to make excuses and not to don unhealthy behaviors, but truly become individuals who are accountable for their actions. And that's a really beautiful message. In light of all of this, is there anything else that you would like to add or say?
Well, first, again, thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. Anytime I get a chance to talk about the Glades, anytime I get a chance to talk directly to you and be able to promote what I hope will be a roadmap and a blueprint for many of our youth, parents, those who are in the institutional systems, teachers, etc. I'm excited about that opportunity. And I've been on the front lines working as a psychologist, as social worker. I've been on several different front lines in the court system, working feverishly in this battle. So this book is a compilation of all of my work, all of my dreams, my failures, my successes, and my hope for a better tomorrow.
Absolutely. As you put it yourself, this book's truly a labor of love. And to anyone who's yet to pick up the book, I'm going to say that after reading it, I can see the love and the work that he's put into this book, and it's absolutely changed my life. And I really want to thank you for that, Dr. Singletary.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Buy the book.
Buy the book. Hey, one question real quick at the end.
Yeah.
Do you want to acknowledge that it's a show? Because if somebody looks for your show, you don't have a
I
show.
don't know. We could redo that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
just cut it out. That's
Yeah,
fine.
okay.
Yeah.
You just
So-
said thanks for having me or something.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Do y'all want to go ahead and do that?
Yeah, we could just redo that.
Yeah.
But y'all don't have to go in there. You can just, yeah, whatever. But I just hate for people
Yeah,
to
so
be like,
here, let's recap. This is the way, it looks like you, this is the way you finish out, that, and it goes on the
I just say
next
thanks for having me. Let's just say, what did I say on that thing, House? Let me see. We
you
just,
said thanks for having me be on your show.
just stop with that. Thanks for having me, and then just go from there.
Well, just say that because I can.
You know what, the first thing you did say was, thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah,
Like, you
you
could
did.
just cut that out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, do this.
I just say thanks for having me.
Do this. Do it just a little bit of it, and then I'll take this camera and put. Well, that'll be the only time you'll be on there, which is cool. Just go ahead and say
I
thanks.
just say thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having
Then
me.
just use that and just go from there.
Okay, but I'm gonna have to put the camera on him though when I say it.
Okay. Say what again?
I'm gonna have to put the camera on him because it's gonna be say thanks
Yes,
for having me.
yes,
You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's fine.
So, so are we done with the? You all done with?
How about we run through this and make sure there's nothing that
Yeah, that's
you,
what I was gonna say.
yeah,
Mhm.
Jewish, right, got some more here. Well, you've got your copy there, right?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Man, that sounded really, really good.
Hey man, you did a super job, both of you.
Man, you did a wonderful job of setting it up over there.
When you know what? When Wheezy, You say, you know when he said he became most successful?
He stopped
When
writing.
when he stopped writing.
Yeah.
He just
Yeah.
started rapping.
Oh, Lil Wayne or whatever.
Yeah, Lil Wayne. Yeah, he said when he stopped writing it down.
Yeah,
he said it just went on.
Yeah, no. My main leaks on the sheet of the tablet of my brain because I don't write shit because I don't have time. Shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it says that verbatim. Yeah.
Yeah, Jay-Z said that too.
Yeah.
Are y'all gonna do it one? Are y'all gonna do it over?
And we're just making sure that he's not missed anything.
Right.
Okay. You said a lot, man. I don't envy you editing and trying to get that down to 5 minutes or whatever you have to do.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get it down to at least no more than 10.
Yeah.
How long do you think that was?
Oh.
I mean, but we did a lot of stopping too, though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, there's a lot.
Yeah, it's
That's
still a
at
lot.
least 30 minutes.
Yeah.
40. I mean, like honestly, like when I said 40 minutes, like I was cutting out the dead time. There's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I think I covered much of it.
So, I mean, I'm not seeing anything.
You know what I would like to see you do, just so you can have it?
What?
I would like for you to, by yourself, just talk to you about your book just for like 30 seconds or something.
Okay,
like that.
cool.
Just give a big overview. I mean, you may need it, you may not, but
Gotcha.
you have it.
Your 30-second elevator pitch to your.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you have it.
Okay,
You
that
have
sounds good. That sounds good. There's one other thing I want you to do before we leave. Is you gotta ask me about. You know, all you have to do is say, tell me about the textbook version. Tell me about the version you have for college students. Tell me about, because there's different.
There's there's a textbook version.
Yeah, so we got a textbook version for like teaching in college.
Wow.
Companion. Then we got one for 7th graders through 12th graders for high school.
Yeah.
Then we have one that's for like prisons, institutions, etc.
Wow.
So we got,
That's nuts.
so
Wow.
there's 4 different versions of it. I'll
Yeah.
show what they look like too. Yeah. And the question, so for example, the textbook version has test questions in it,
Mm-hmm.
discussion questions in it, because most schools are going to case study based curriculums.
Yeah.
And so this is essentially a case study.
Yeah.
And so there are questions that are written to sort of fit a particular, to fit a course.
Yeah.
And so like in the textbook version, we got a whole chapter on restorative justice, which one of my good colleagues, one of the leading experts in the country.
Wow. And that's a really cool thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we have a different chapter that's more academic written than just sort of the book.
Yeah.
And then we got a chapter on emotional intelligence. So for example, the chapter following the murder is, because you think about the murder, we talk about how it sort of destroyed the community. Well, that's what restorative justice is all about.
Yeah.
So we talk about the principles and the concepts and the philosophy of restorative justice and how it relates back to that chapter.
Yeah.
So it sort of pulls it out.
Cool.
Same thing with emotional intelligence, and there's a couple other chapters we do. So we add some other stuff for the college version.
And restorative justice is really important.
Really? Yeah.
Especially with juvenile.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so
I took a whole.
my
I took-
master's
yeah.
thesis was on restorative justice.
Really, that's
Yeah.
sick. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then we do the same thing for kids for the 7th through 12th grade. And then we do the same thing for the institutional. We do restorative justice. We do some critical thinking stuff that I've written and published. We put that in there as well.
And then you just have the New York Times bestseller.
Right. Then we
version.
just got that, just a regular old read version
Yeah.
of it all.
Cool.
So different reads, yeah. And so you can sell a textbook for $45. So.
Yeah, that's a cheap textbook.
Yeah, that's a cheap.
Well, that's
yeah.
cheap, man.
Yeah, that's cheap. Yeah, but I wanted to be because you know, as a
yeah.
student, I know how it is.
Oh, I know it pisses you off. When
Yeah,
you're already.
yeah.
And as an athlete, that would really be awful. I mean,
Yeah.
because I mean, heck, like, I know a lot of kids that, you know, they get a so-called full ride, so
Sure.
they don't have money to eat or go out, and they work their
Right.
asses off and
Right.
make a lot of money for the school, but don't make any themselves. It's a
exactly
shame.
right.
Yeah.
Right. I always
Right.
think athletes should get paid.
They should.
Oh yeah, they
bring
should.
as much
Well, and it
value.
would encourage them at the margin, you know, to stay in school a little bit longer.
Right.
Which, I mean, you look at like, 2/3 of the NFL players are broke, 2 years out of,
Right.
after retirement.
Right.
I think we covered everything, man.
Cool. But I'll ask the question about the 4 different versions of the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you can just say thanks for having me. You can just run it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we covered everything.
I would agree. I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
I'm more excited to read the book now than
Cool.
ever. Yeah.
I'm looking for, I get you, you will have a
already read it.
hand. Yeah, well,
What?
You already read it.
you have a,
I'm
you
just joking.
have a hand in your copy.
Yeah, I would love that.
I will send you a personal copy myself.
Thank you. And sign.
Seriously.
Sign.
Absolutely.
I need your
Of course.
autograph. 'cause
It will be there.
It's going to be valuable.
Come on.
After this book hits.
No,
Yeah.
you will have a signed copy.
Thank you. Yeah. That's
You
all I
will
want
not-
out of this.
Yeah, without question.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So,
Are we already on, House?
Hey, you never stop.
Oh.
oh wow,
All right.
cool. So Dr. Singletary, as I understand it, there's actually 4 different versions of your book, all for 4 different purposes. I mean, you intend for this book not to only be, a really fun read that anyone can pick up at their bookstore, but it can even enter the classroom and begin discussions there, with our country's youth.
Absolutely. One of the things that I realized quickly, again, as I said earlier, when writing the book, was that the book was much bigger than myself. Again, to recap, when I first started writing this book, it was just about me. It was about my own trials and tribulations growing up in the projects, government assistance, etc. However, I didn't want the book to just be your typical, I'm going to pick this up at an airport newsstand and tuck it between my arms and just a quick leisure read. I wanted it to be a little bit more challenging as well. And I wanted to provide content that was different for those who wanted to sort of explore more about Socrates, more about Plato, more about the intersectionality of Plato, Socrates, and Tupac and Biggie. So in the textbook version that is for college students, I get more in depth in terms of Socrates, Plato. I get into the philosophies that I don't sort of delve into in the traditional text version, the sort of leisure read. And so also some of the language in the traditional read is not appropriate for some of the readers that will read. And so just focusing on the education edition for college students, I wanted to make sure that I push them in such a way that I write the book at a level that they're used to reading. And so I write the book at a college level, one in which they can understand, that's going to push them, challenge them, and may cause them to pick up a thesaurus or a dictionary every once in a while to have to sort of understand the concepts that I'm writing about. Much of what I'm writing about is in their textbooks already. So, for example, in the chapter about life, I talk about the dissonance that the mother experiences as she's watching her child. Well, that's a word that we use in psychology and sociology and social work, right? We talk about cognitive dissonance. Well, that's a great example for you there. So why not take these case studies, which is the book is, right? Crossroads American Case Study. Why not take these very in-depth interviews and sort of convert them into traditional case studies so that they could be used as a teaching tool as well as a leisure read. And so we have in addition also for 7th through 12th graders as well. The language is tempered down a little bit more for them, again, different audience. But we also push them in a way because with 7th through 12th graders, in addition to teaching, we also want to inspire. And I think that's also what's different. I think that's sort of the undertone of the book as well. It's also an inspirational book as well. You mentioned earlier that it's sort of a combination of 3 bestsellers. And I think that's important as well, that we can teach and also inspire at the same time. And I think that's what's unique, particularly in terms of learning. Before a student can learn, they must first be interested. I mean, the stories and the narratives in this book are very, very captivating and very, very interesting. So I'm pretty confident that it's going to capture the attention of a generation whose attention span is 2 seconds short. Or in some cases, as I think it's 60 characters, 20 characters?
120.
120 characters on 20.
Yeah.
So 120 characters long, that's the attention span of many of our youth. And so I wanted to create something that could capture their attention span, but at the same time inspire and also challenge them at the same time. The last text version is for what I call the institutional version. And it's for prisoners, it's for those who are incarcerated, it's for those who are at alternative schools, those who are in programs, it could be group homes, etc. Those who are in treatment facilities, right? Because many of the stories, particularly those in the chapter Despair, gives great examples of those who made really bad, poor decisions, but also those who were able to overcome or sort of redeem themselves from their decisions. And I think this book will serve as a great example for those. For example, we have someone who struggled with addiction in the text that we write about. We have someone who, of course, murdered someone. We have others who made really bad decisions and sold drugs. Yeah. And so we span the gamut in terms of life experiences why not capitalize on those experiences? And so those who are institutionalized, I think this book will serve as a great blueprint for them, because it will allow them the ability to sort of walk in the shoes of those who think like them, but also in the shoes of those who don't think like them. And it should inspire them to think about life in a different regard, being able to compare their path to the path of others, but also show them that just because you make a mistake doesn't mean that you have to be sort of captured in eternity, in some perpetuity by that mistake. And so they're great examples of those who have redeemed themselves in their lives, who are doing very, very well, and those who chose not to. And so I think this book will serve a great example for those who are institutionalized, those who are looking for help, in some cases those who are seeking a better way, who have no idea what that better way looks like.
You mentioned the whole 3 bestsellers in one. I actually didn't say that.
I know, I forgot to mention it to you earlier.
Yeah. So we need to figure out where we can stick that in here.
Okay.
Let's. Well, I'm trying to think of everything that I've said, and if there were any way to slice that in there.
Oh yeah, slicing.
No, he has to say something to the extent of, one of the things that he likes about the book is that it's a, what names did we use?
It's like three bestsellers in one. I mean, in fact, it chronicles 3 different paths that people are able to take in their lives.
Right.
You know,
Right.
These being success, despair, and death.
Right. There are books, be sure to say, there are books written explicitly about just those paths alone.
Yeah.
Which is to add to what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's kind of.
All right, good.
So let's just say what you just said, and then he can just take that, and then we'll just tell House, find somewhere to stitch this in before he says
You're
something.
gonna find somewhere to stitch that in.
Okay.
Because I'm about to give you the
See, that's what I'm saying.
I'm
You
giving
and
you
I
raw
need to figure that
footage.
out right now because it can be tough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me.
I'm trying to think.
Unless you all said it just to stay independent of everything, because I noticed what you're saying is like you said before, and I would say stay away from that, because if you happen to
Right.
edit that out,
Stitch, yeah.
it's like you didn't say that before. You
Right.
see what I'm
And,
saying?
well, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I was more so saying as a mental note to us to say we got to put that in there.
Yeah.
So if you all can just say it and just stay independent from anything that was already said and work it in.
You know what? Yeah. So remember when you say, I'm talking about the cultural borrowing or whatever
Right.
your conversation.
Yes, perfect place to put that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right before that, and then that would segue. And yeah, okay. So this is okay. So I'm looking to the camera and I'll say this. This goes before when I talk about Biggie and Tupac and Socrates and Plato. Oh, and also Wu-Tang Triumph, like Socrates' philosophies
Yeah.
and stuff, whatever. Yeah. So that'd be cool. I always think of like if I were going to write a book, and then like how you can have like quotations at the beginning of the book.
Yes. Right.
Like what rap songs would I quote? Just to be like very subversive, Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, this.
Fold your thing back over.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good point. Man, continuity king here. There we go.
I'm good. You ready?
I know I started earlier. I started to say, "Hey, if you're gonna say it in, cross your leg." But I was like,
Yeah. So I know I've kept my legs crossed the whole time.
Yes.
So that's good. 3, 2, 1. One thing that I love about this book is the fact that anyone can relate to it. I mean, in fact, this book takes a look. It's like 3 bestsellers in one. It takes a look at the 3 different paths anyone's life can take. These being success, death, and despair. Let me redo that because I kind of butchered it already. And that's one of the things I love most about this book is the fact that anyone can relate to it. And this is because the book looks at these 3 separate paths, success, despair, and death. And in having this 3-part structure, it's almost like you're getting 3 bestsellers in one. There's a number of books out there that will look at any one of these topics. But to look at all of them in combination is the thing that really allows people from all walks of life to really get something valuable from this book. Cut. And then it would go into the Biggie quote or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we could do there is I ask that question, it's both of us, and then it cuts to the second part of the question, which is just me on that camera. So that'll work.
Okay.
Yeah. Did that sound good to you?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right.
So do y'all want to do the closing over, or y'all want to keep it like it is?
Oh yeah, thank you instead of
Thanks for
not
having me on
thank you
your
for having
show.
me on your show. Just
Okay.
thank
Thanks
you.
for having
That
me.
sounds
Something.
We can do the conclusion again.
That's good. Let's just, well, all I gotta say is just, thank you for,
You think so?
yeah, because your stuff was fine.
Here's what I'm gonna do. When you all finish, I'm gonna put the camera just on you,
Yeah.
and y'all can just talk about whatever. Well, Gia talk about whatever, and you can just look at him, and you can like shake your head. So if we need to use,
Oh, then we'll just have
yeah,
scenes of
the
me.
B shots.
Yeah.
If we need to use that B shot, we will do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Good idea.
You ready now?
Go ahead.
What am I, just talk about anything?
Oh no. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure to be here. This book, as I said earlier, has been a labor of love. It's a book that I hold very dear to me. My only hope is that it's able to reach at least one person and change their lives. If I'm able to do that, then this book is a success.
Perfect. Okay. And then let's get to just me looking, and then see if anything was wrong with what you were saying. You can just switch the shot to me nodding,
Yeah.
and then you can redo your voice later.
Yeah. That's
So we're good.
Yeah, we're good. And this saves the day. These shots.
Oh man,
yeah,
oh
exactly.
gosh.
Yeah. Good
When I'm
call.
doing weddings, we have walkie talkies. I said, man, go ahead and get B shots, and I get B shots when it's just when somebody's singing or something. Woo, those save the day. I'm not lying.
Mhm.
Okay, so y'all can just go ahead and start talking.
All right.
So what I'm hoping to do now is I have to do some more PR stuff. I got to bring some other stuff together. I'm gonna send some other stuff to. I'm gonna change that one thing to Life in Red Rum. Because that whole story is written backwards, which is crazy, and so I wanted to make sure that reflects that. So I got a couple more changes to make. I'm hoping to have this thing wrapped up, man, by the end of June. I'm hoping to have all the edits back out,
Wow.
wrapped up by June. July, I'm gonna be pushing it. I'm gonna be on vacation for about a month in July, so I'm gonna be gone literally the entire month of July, from like July 5th. But I'm gonna be working as well.
For the book.
Yeah. So and so definitely I'm gonna start doing some real hard stuff. Probably book signing maybe in August in Florida. The first one will be in Florida, so it's gonna probably be in August, no later than September. And then we're gonna do one in Lexington as well. We're gonna do one in Atlanta. One of the guys in the book, man, he's a comedian. He's gonna actually be on Comedy Central. He has a show he's recording as we speak on Comedy
Really?
Central. Yeah. And I interviewed him for the book. He's a comedian. Funny guy.
What's his name?
His name is Dr. Foolish.
Dr.
That's his real name is Ishmael Nelson. But his stage name and all this stuff is Dr. Foolish. But he's about to change his name from Dr. Foolish back to Ishmael. But his story is like, wow, man. When I was writing his story, it was like unbelievable. I mean, he comes from poverty. I'll just tell you something real quick about his story. And so let you see how the book's situated. So his story is he was born in poverty and very, very poor. He was born himself and his oldest sister, and his father is a preacher, right? His biological father is a preacher, but his biological father had a wife and was married. His biological father actually lived behind me, where I grew up.
Really?
Was married, had kids, had a whole separate family. His biological father, but he still was having kids from his mother.
Mm-hmm.
So he talked about how he was living in these two different worlds, living in poverty with his mom, but his dad was living a little bit better. Yeah, because it was his dad and his dad's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, his mother is single.
Hey, real quick, I'm getting your fingers. Pull your fingers back.
Sorry. Meanwhile, his mom is single, waiting on his dad to leave his wife, which he never does.
They never do.
So he's having to go into these houses and see his dad with this lady who his dad's calling his wife, then go home to his mom that's what his reality, man.
That's confusing.
Yeah, so imagine how confusing that
Right.
is. That's what I write about. Imagine how
Right.
confusing that is for a kid.
Right.
It's absurd. It's almost funny.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and so it's really tragic. And so he had to go through that. His story is crazy, man. So he opened up for D.L. Hughley, which is a big comedian guy. He went on tour with D.L. Hughley. And his first day on tour with D.L. Hughley, man, his brother had went to all of his shows. All of his shows. First day on stage with D.L. Hughley, he comes out, finds out his brother's been murdered. The biggest day of his life. Come fresh off the stage from performing with D.L. Hughley. Just, I mean, the place is sold out. And checks his cell phone, checks his cell phone, 100 missed calls, calls his mom back. What's going on? Your brother's dead. Next day, he's in a crack house with an AK-47. Thinking, okay, I'm about to go straighten this situation out.
What happens?
He ends up going to Atlanta with his brother and never comes back. And that's when and then he got into comedy when he actually was at Hard Rock Cafe watching a comedian perform, and he wasn't laughing. He was just sitting there in his chair, stumped in his chair, and the comedian guy said, "Oh, you act like you, so like this ain't funny, like this ain't good stuff." He was like, "It's not good stuff." He was like, "Oh, you can do a better job." He was like, "Yeah, anybody can do a better job than you." Crowd's laughing. He says, "If you can do a better job, come on stage." He gets up, walks on stage, does his thing, tears the crowd up. Crowd like hysterical, laughing, thinking it's a part of the show. Totally not. They think it's a part of the show. Totally not a part of the show, right? So then, after the show was over, this lady from Atlanta says, "Hey, I'm gonna do a show next. We're gonna launch this product next week. Why don't you come and be our MC? Open up for us. We had Cedric the Entertainer last year."
Good God.
He's like, "What? Yeah, come talk to my manager." And he got no manager. So they call him, he's switching voices and all this kind of thing, right?
He's pulling Donald Trump.
Yeah, pulling a Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So he does that, and from that day he started doing shows. And now all of a sudden, I mean, he's won Atlanta's funniest comedian 2 years in the last 2 years. You talking about D.L. Hughley, Cedric the Entertainer. You talking about Earthquake. All these big guys have never done that before. Just signed his deal with Comedy Central. He's about to do this. So he's going to
He's
do a
about
show.
to do
with Comedy
their show.
Central.
Wow.
Yeah. Just signed this big deal with Comedy Central. He got a sitcom he's working on as well. I mean,
Really?
So he's, I mean, guys.
And he's from the Glades.
He's from the Glades. Yeah, he was actually in Louisville about a month ago. Yeah, I forget what he said. I got it on my phone because he was texting back and forth. He was in
Right,
Louisville.
Comedy Caravan. Well, they call it the Derby City Comedy Event, something like that.
Because I was going to Florida or somewhere, New Orleans, when he was going to Louisville. I said, I can't come see you, man. I'm like, I'm going to be in
You
New
should call and
Orleans.
talk to me, man.
So, yeah, so he's doing his thing well. So you got people like that. But man, there's a part in the introduction in the book where I introduce you to the Glades, where I get into the history of the Glades, where you get to learn about, you learn why there's so much poverty. I literally walk you through, so when it's all over, you realize why the place is so poor, why unemployment is so high. And I talk about the history. I mean, Palm Beach County was the first place in Florida to integrate schools. The Glades. I'm sorry, my high school was the first school in Florida to integrate, to end segregation. That's crazy.
Right.
First school to integrate. And the results were, because of the integration, the white people in my town, they moved out.
They left. It was disastrous.
Yeah, my town was like the biggest town in Palm. It was bigger than West Palm. It was bigger than Palm Beach. All of the money was in my town. That's what's so strange. So two things happened. They had integration. So in 1954, Brown versus Board of Education decision said, okay, we can't do this grade 7 anymore. But they didn't start integrated school until like 1967, even though we had the
With the
54
Civil
Law.
Rights Act. And all
Yeah.
that.
And so my school was the first school to integrate in Florida, among the first in the South.
And it's just disastrous.
Yeah, so the white people in my town said, I'm not going for it. We're not sending our kids to school with black people. So they got their money and went to West Palm Beach, which is in Palm Beach County. They started setting up shop in West Palm. So they took the monies out of the banks, went over there. So that happened in the 60s and the 70s. Well, when the 80s came along,
The crack epidemic.
crack epidemic and the AIDS, HIV epidemic. Well, what happened? Here's what happened there. we grow sugar cane. Sugar cane is the biggest crop in my hometown. We grow more, we supply 90% of the world with sugar.
That's crazy.
My hometown. 90% of the sugar coming in the world comes from my hometown.
Right.
Well, here's what happened. They were bringing migrant workers from Haiti, Haitians, they used to live in these camps.
Wow.
There was a camp, literally, it's crazy stuff there. There was a camp about 100 yards from my house. Huge camp. I mean, imagine like a dorm room, but it's full of people working, right?
Yeah.
So you got a camp full of all these Haitians. Well, they had HIV that they contracted in Haiti.
What?
Well, they used their address, which was in the Glades. And so when they reported their address to the free health clinic, because it was free, they don't get free health care in Haiti.
Yeah.
So they came here and got medical attention, and they had to get tested. They got tested. It had the highest HIV rate in the country. And literally, now imagine, you only got 15,000 people in this place.
Right. You went from 0 to
And you
the
got
highest.
the highest HIV rate in the country? And so the impact of that was jobs wouldn't come there. Colleges wouldn't even recruit players, athletes from there. No one would touch the Glades because
Yeah.
they were stigma.
The
Right,
demographics
right.
are off. Yeah.
Right.
Jesus.
So you couple the migration from the integration, the HIV epidemic, and then the crime epidemic. Had one of the highest crime rates. The FBI had top 3 in the country for crime rate. So this is all publicized with the HIV stuff. It was so bad. One of the guys I write about in the book, who ran in the Olympics, by the way, I write about him in the book too. His story, man, real quick. When I was interviewing him, this is no joke. I'm interviewing this guy and thinking to myself, when is he gonna tell me he's dead? That's how his story is. I'm looking at him like, at what point is he gonna tell me he's dead? I'm not kidding, man. Like, I'm literally looking at this dude. When is he gonna tell me he's dead?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not kidding, man. I was on the edge of my shoes, like, whoa, you ran in the Olympics? You were the fastest man in the world, by the way. This guy was.
Wow. What's his name?
Gilbert Grantlin. Fast, dude. I mean, he's having sex in the porta potties right before the track meet.
No way.
Yeah, and then before the Olympics, he's getting it in.
Jesus.
Before the Olympics? Oh,
Man,
Lord.
dude, before track meets, dude, he almost got arrested for accosting Marion Jones.
Wow.
I mean, he was just out there.
I'm glad they ain't going to Brazil because he wouldn't get
But this was back in.
Right.
But I bring him up to say
Right.
that, and I write about all this stuff. I bring it up to say that when he was in college, his coach came to his house. But no, he was messing around with this girl. He met her at a party. Go to her house, spent the night. Well, the next morning, someone knocked at the door. She tells him, go to the door. Must be Katie. Somebody coming over. It's one of his coaches. Coach, what are you doing here? Where's Lisa? She's in the back. Well, Lisa is his niece. He's pissed. She's white. He's black. He is pissed. We're talking about like we're like in 1998, 1997, 98. He's pissed. But the crazy thing is, so he goes, Lisa, he tells him to get the hell out of there. The next day, he's in his coach's office, head coach's office. They want to get they want to get HIV tested. They tell him either he gets AIDS tested or he get kicked out of school.
Wow.
That's how serious. And so he said no, of course. So then they made all the players from the Glades get tested. And they made them get tested. And he ended up getting a lawyer. Then he said they were going to kick him out of school. So he finally just said, okay, fine, I'm not going to, I'll get tested. He got tested. He was nervous as hell, because he didn't know. He was 20 years old.
Yeah.
Right. And now, sir.
Yeah. And so he didn't have HIV, but that just goes to show
The
how
sort of
pervasive.
stigma. Yeah.
Yeah.
Prejudice.
Yeah, and so you think about that, then you think about those jobs leaving. That's why the town is desolate. And then also, they stopped using human capital and start using machines to harvest the sugar cane. And that killed the economy. So the economy hasn't bounced back.
No. And people just don't leave. And everyone's dependent on government assistance.
Right, yeah, and I mean, you're talking about over 4 to 5% unemployment, literally. have the people that are living below the poverty line.
Well, then, I mean, that's, a lot of people have exited the labor force. I mean, if you look at labor force participation, I bet it's way, way low there.
It's been like that for years.
Yeah,
But there are no jobs. I mean, we don't have a Walmart.
yeah.
That's serious when you don't have a Walmart. When you don't have a Walmart,
Dude,
Oh,
isn't this like 40 miles
Pikeville,
away?
Kentucky, you know, Harlan County, Hazard. they-
Pikeville,
they
yeah,
have
yeah,
Walmarts.
yeah,
So
yeah.
are Armstrong.
Hey, I have it. I've been having
yeah,
it.
I mean, not even a
Yeah.
Walmart, dude. I mean, and, you know, I mean, so anyway, so yeah, it's very
It's
desolate.
nuts.
Yeah, but then again, how do you get all these, I mean, how do you have the most NFL players?
Hey, they fighting to get out, man.
Was there
Yeah, fighting
like a 30 for 30 special on the
Yeah,
Glades?
absolutely.
About how
That's
they
been,
chase after rabbits
yes,
or something.
there's
Yeah.
been several. There's
Yeah.
been several. Yeah.
Yeah, that came out when I was like in middle school, and I remember
Yeah.
one of my friends telling me about it. I'm like, that doesn't sound believable.
Oh, yeah.
But now it's pretty
That's
believable.
that's
yeah.
very believable.
Yeah, exactly. It's
I mean,
great.
and I write about that. That
Yeah.
they all don't. That's in the introduction. I write about that because
Yeah.
that's the perception. Because everyone from the Glades is so fast,
Yeah.
and so these
What,
always
what was
kids-
your 40 time when you were in college?
It's like a 4, 5,
That's quick.
probably lower than that.
Yeah.
But they used to always get us about why we're so fast, and
Yeah.
so they used to say why we chase
Yeah,
rabbits.
right,
Yeah, that's
right.
what everybody says.
Yeah, well, some guys like they embrace that, but I talk about in the book that it's not that.
Yeah.
What's really cool, man, and I talk about this in the book, in the introduction chapter, because the question is how these people get so, what is about these people that makes them be able to become so resilient
Yeah.
and persevere. I didn't want to give it away in this, but what I write about in the book, man, is that the interesting thing about the Glades, well, Pahokee means grassy water, big grassy water, which is Indian. Well, Native Americans, specifically the Seminole Indians, inhabited that area
Mm-hmm.
for years. They were there before Ponce de Leon discovered Florida, supposedly. So the Native Americans, specifically the Seminole tribe, they lived in Pahokee Valley on the Glades.
Yeah.
They inhabited the whole area. We know that Native Americans are among the most spiritual people on earth. So I always say, what I talk about in the book, my explanation for the people and their resilience is that you're dealing with, what I say in the book is, we may not have the blood of the Indians, but we have the spirit of the Native Americans.
Yeah.
And I think and personally, I really do believe, I think that's what drives, it's the spirit. Because you can't explain it any other way. I think so you're living on fields that was once inhabited by the most spiritual people on earth.
Yeah.
They were the first, they taught the Europeans everything they knew, literally.
Yeah.
And these are the sacred grounds that I was raised in and born and all this stuff on. So that's what I think. I write about in the book
Yeah.
why we're so fast, great athletes, and able to overcome. Because if you think about the Seminole Indians,
They were tough.
they were tough.
Yeah.
They overcame. They were able to. It was all water. It was literally all water.
That's the last place
down
on
there.
earth you'd ever want to live.
They were able to live there and live very well.
Like next to alligators. Like,
Yeah, they
Oh,
lived.
wow.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
And
you
my-
walk through swamp. It's crazy.
Yeah. And so imagine back in the early 1800s, it was all swamp,
Yeah.
literally all swamp, and they thrived in that place. And that's where I'm from. And then you had the 1928 storm, which was, I read about that too, which was worse than Hurricane Katrina. It
Yeah.
was the Hurricane Katrina at this time.
It wiped out Florida.
Wiped out the Glades. It hit my hometown, the Glades, harder than any other place in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you got that devastation of 1928, and yet it comes back, girls does very well.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a lot of cool stuff, man, in terms of that place. Again, one of the largest storms to ever hit America hit specifically on the Glades.
Yeah. The Ida storm.
Yeah. So when you think about, like, this place is unique, man. It's a lot of unique things that are
It's like a
happening.
novel or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a novel written about it called "Their Eyes Were on God." That's the name of the novel. Janice Hurstein, she wrote the novel. There's a lot of things that's so unique about a small town with less than 15,000 people. You're like, how does this stuff happen?
Let me go ahead and stop. We good.
Like, you got Mel Tillis. I'm sure you know the country
Country
singer Mel
music.
Tillis.
Yeah.
You know he has